Hey there! You can overcome your trauma by watching this video. Trauma can have a profound impact on your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. It often leaves lasting scars that can shape your thoughts, behaviors, and relationships, sometimes without you even realizing it. Overcoming trauma is a difficult but essential journey toward healing and reclaiming your life. Breaking the chains of your past is not about forgetting what happened, but about learning how to move forward in a healthier, empowered way. Here are some strategies, examples, and solutions to help break free from the chains of past trauma. 1. Acknowledge and accept the trauma. The first step in overcoming trauma is acknowledging that it happened. Denial or suppression only prolongs the healing process. Accepting that trauma has affected your life doesn't mean giving it power over you. Instead, it is about validating your experience and recognizing how it has shaped you. Example: Sarah grew up in an abusive household. For years, she suppressed the memories, thinking that ignoring them would help her cope. However, as she began to acknowledge the pain and the ways in which it affected her relationships, she could begin to confront the trauma, feel compassion for her younger self, and move toward healing. Solution: 1. Journaling or talking with a trusted person, therapist or support group, can help you acknowledge the trauma. 2. Use grounding techniques, like mindfulness, to stay in the present moment when confronting overwhelming emotions. 2. Seek professional help. Overcoming trauma often requires professional intervention. Trauma can cause deep psychological wounds, and a therapist trained in trauma can help guide you through the healing process using evidence-based methods such as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, or trauma-focused therapies. Example: John experienced PTSD after returning from military service. His flashbacks and hypervigilance made it difficult to function in his daily life. After seeking therapy and engaging in EMDR, John was able to process his trauma and reframe his memories, allowing him to regain control over his life. Solution: 1. Find a licensed therapist who specializes in trauma or PTSD. 2. Consider group therapy for shared experiences and support. 3. Practice self-compassion. Trauma survivors often blame themselves for what happened, even though they are not responsible for the abuse or event. Practicing self-compassion is essential in overcoming trauma. Learning to be kind to yourself and to recognize that you are worthy of love and care is critical to healing. Example: Tina suffered childhood neglect and developed deep feelings of unworthiness. As an adult, she often sabotaged her relationships and career because she believed she wasn't deserving of success or happiness. Through mindfulness and self-compassion exercises, Tina began to see herself as a whole, valuable person, independent of her past experiences. Solution: 1. Practice self-compassion exercises such as writing affirmations or meditating on feelings of self-worth. 2. Stop negative self-talk by replacing it with nurturing language, such as, "I am enough just as I am." 4. Create new boundaries. For many survivors of trauma, especially in cases of abuse or neglect, setting boundaries can feel alien. However, learning to establish healthy boundaries is vital for recovery. Boundaries protect your emotional space and allow you to regain control over your life. Example: David experienced emotional abuse from his family for years, often being pressured to meet unrealistic expectations. After years of enduring this treatment, he began to set clear boundaries with his family, stating what he would and would not tolerate. Although difficult, David found that setting boundaries allowed him to prioritize his well-being. Solution: 1. Identify areas of your life where boundaries are needed, for example, relationships, work, personal time. 2. Start with small steps, such as saying no when you feel uncomfortable or exhausted. 5. Build a support system. Healing from trauma is rarely done in isolation. Surrounding yourself with people who understand and support your journey can provide encouragement, comfort, and strength. Support groups, family, or trusted friends can help you feel less alone as you heal. Example: after surviving a traumatic event, Michelle felt isolated and misunderstood. She joined a support group for people who had gone through similar experiences. Connecting with others who understood her pain gave her a sense of belonging and validated her feelings. Solution: 1. Reach out to friends or family members who are compassionate and willing to listen. 2. Consider joining support groups or online communities where you can find others who share similar experiences. 6. Embrace healthy coping mechanisms instead of turning to harmful coping strategies, like substance abuse, self-harm, or avoidance. Focusing on healthy ways to cope can make a big difference in overcoming trauma. Exercise, creative outlets, meditation, or even volunteering can all be positive ways to channel difficult emotions. Example: after his traumatic divorce, Mark struggled with anxiety and turned to alcohol to numb his pain. Eventually, he realized that drinking wasn't helping and started running every morning. Not only did this help with his anxiety, but it also gave him a sense of accomplishment and control over his life. Solution: 1. Engage in activities that help reduce stress, like yoga, hiking, painting, or writing. 2. Practice mindfulness or meditation to learn how to manage intrusive thoughts. 7. Shift your narrative. Trauma often leads us to view ourselves as victims, but healing involves shifting that narrative. This means reframing your experience not as something that defines you but as part of your story. You are not your trauma, you're a person who experienced trauma and can grow stronger as a result. Example: Sophia had been sexually assaulted during her teenage years, and for a long time, she viewed herself as broken. In therapy, she learned to see herself as a survivor rather than a victim. This shift empowered her to reclaim her sense of agency and start living her life with purpose. Solution: 1. Reframe your trauma by writing about how it has shaped your resilience, strength, and wisdom. 2. Practice gratitude and celebrate small victories in your healing process. 8. Give yourself time. Healing from trauma does not happen overnight. It's a slow, non-linear process that can involve setbacks, relapses, and challenges. Be patient with yourself and trust that healing will come, even if it feels uncertain at times. Example: Rachel's childhood trauma left her with deep emotional scars. She often felt discouraged because her healing didn't happen quickly. Over time, she realized that her progress, though slow, was steady, and she celebrated small milestones like feeling less anxious or more connected to others. Solution: 1. Avoid rushing or pressuring yourself to get over it. 2. Set realistic goals for yourself, such as practicing a new coping skill once a week. Breaking free from the chains of past trauma is challenging, but it is also possible. By acknowledging your trauma, seeking professional help, practicing self-compassion, setting boundaries, building support systems, embracing healthy coping strategies, shifting your narrative, and giving yourself time, you can take control of your healing journey. Though the path is difficult, every step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to a life of peace, empowerment, and wholeness.